Hey everybody, so I got a request on one of my recent videos to talk about my experiences with doctors growing up and everything and having my foreskin. So in this video, that's what I thought I'd talk about a little bit. So I think I was actually pretty lucky as a kid because I never had a doctor forcibly retract me or anything like that. I think I don't really know how my parents came to realize that there was no reason for circumcision, but perhaps the pediatrician that they had looked into was against it because being born in 1979 in Indiana, it's extremely uncommon, and rare that I still have my foreskin. Most guys my age were circumcised and no one gave it a second thought. So whether the pediatrician that they looked into was against it and is the one that educated them, I don't really know. All I can tell you is that this doctor, when we had our checkups and things like that, never tried to retract me. And I have a pretty good memory from when I was a very small kid. I remember things from back when I was 2 years old. So I would remember, because I remember going to the doctor's office and things like that, and I remember the checkups, and I remember he never tried to pull back my foreskin or anything like that. So I think I turned out, that turned out really lucky for me, because I didn't have any of those issues with a doctor that tried to forcibly retract me, as happens all too often, and we hear about healthcare professionals forcing it back all the time. And so I think for that time and period, it's amazing that the doctor that my parents found did not. And maybe there's the connection. Maybe he's the one that told them. I don't know. I wish I did, but he's he's long since retired. He was older even then. When I was a kid, I want to say he was probably already approaching 60. So, who knows if he's even still around. I'm sure he's definitely not practicing medicine at this point. So that was kind of my experience up till then. As I started to get older, especially, I've talked in another video about how when I joined the military, the doctor at the MEPS is the place where everyone goes for their initial physicals and a whole bunch of paperwork and a whole bunch of doctors examining you and things like that. And I mentioned there that the doctor there kept mentioning, because I started out going into the Army, switched to the Air Force years later, but started out Army. And so the doctor kept saying, like 2 or 3 times, he's like, was that giving you any problems? I'm like, no. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, yep. And he's like, well, the Army can take care of that for you. And I was like, nope, I'm very attached to it, thanks. So there was the experience with that doctor. Now, I've also had doctors as an adult who, when I would go in for physicals or things like that, they would say, well, circumcision is healthier, or, there's health benefits to circumcision, and they probably wish they hadn't opened that door, because I was like, actually, and then I started telling them a whole bunch of things. One of those things that I even did was I had them put a medical alert in my file. I thought it would be a way to spread awareness and maybe have them wonder, anyone that opened my file, there's often electronically an alert will pop up that any provider or any nurse or anything that opens it has to acknowledge, such as this patient is allergic to such and such medication or something like that. Well, in mine, I went in there and they put an alert in that would pop up whenever they opened my file that said, patient is uncircumcised and wishes to remain uncircumcised. And I figured, this will be a great way that they see that, and maybe they'll ask, but at least anybody that looks at it will know that right off the bat, and maybe they'll ask me questions as to why I'm so happy with it or something like that. So that was a way of me helping to spread awareness to anyone who would open up my chart. So that was good. But yeah, there's been several doctors who would try to try to encourage me to get circumcised for no reason. They just would do that, and I would always tell them I was definitely not interested, and I would use that as an opportunity to explain things to them. So one of the other experiences that I will say is, so I do have a son, and before he was born, we were lucky we had a nurse, we had a doctor who was against circumcision, so there was no problems from her. But I remember going for a visit with the nurse before he was born, and when circumcision was mentioned, I said he's not going to be circumcised. The nurse said, well, you got to make sure you keep it clean. And of course, I immediately launched into a explanation about that, because I always hated that people act like those of us that are not circumcised are dirty or dirtier, or it needs extra care. And also, I feel like most people, if they heard that and they were not informed like I am, they might take that and start doing that wrong sort of cleaning. Too many people think cleaning the penis of their intact child means to force it back and scrub it clean, and you should never do that. You should only wash the outside. That's it. Only the boy himself should ever retract his foreskin once he's a teenager, or whenever it happens on its own, and most often the parents aren't going to know about it, nor do they need to. So I tried to really give her a lot of information so that she would not say things like that in the future. So that was that experience there, and I think that's one of the things I've found, is that a lot of those doctors don't know anything about it. They see a foreskin and they think they need to educate me on the health benefits of circumcision. And you know what? There are people that may say, oh, they shouldn't be doing that. But you know what? I kind of like it when they do, because, at least to me, because then that opens up the door for me to really give them that information and let them know. And hopefully they'll think twice and not try to encourage it next time. So when they bring it up, I'm more than happy to have a long conversation about it with them, where I'm educating them. They're not telling me anything that I didn't know. I'm informing them about the benefits of the foreskin and the problems with circumcision. And I found so many of them do not seem to know anything about it. So I think that's the main experiences that I can think of at the moment. I'm sure there have been other little interactions, but one of the things I will say that I've found to be an annoyance. So since I'm retractable, so when I have a physical and the physician retracts my foreskin, that's fine because I am retractable. What I find annoying is that when they're done looking, they don't pull my foreskin back. I mean, back to its original position. They leave me retracted. And I always wish they would just, if you're going to pull the foreskin back to take a look, then pull it back forward after you're done. I feel like that also shows that they're used to seeing the head exposed, or glands, whichever term you, head is the popular term, glands is the medical term. But I feel like that they are used to seeing the glands exposed, so when they retract it, they don't seem to think that, oh, we should put this back the way it's supposed to be when we're done. And so that's one annoyance I have. So for the person that asked me to do this video, I hope this has answered those questions, and anything else that comes to mind about it, I will try to post in future videos. I hope everyone has a great day, and I will talk to you again soon.